Hashivei Adonai elecha v'nashuva Chadesh yameinu kekedem. Turn us towards you, Adonai, and let us come back. Renew our days as of old. It's one of my favorite parts of the whole service, right? It's a crescendo of so much that is happening. We're returning the ark to the scroll, and I will tell you, I always feel honored that I'm allowed to be standing at the ark as the community's voices and prayers are being directed with the open ark. And my actual theology aside, it is a moment of hope and of inspiration. It is a moment of communal unity as we are standing and singing together. The experience is a peak moment. And the last line is not inherent to the prayer book or to the Torah service. The rabbis pulled the verse from the book of Lamentations. And Lamentations, or Echa, is an unexpected source for this moment of hope. Generally speaking, Lamentations is a book describing Israel as under assault. Jerusalem is forlorn, and a sense of God's abandonment is throughout the book of Lamentations. And yet, out of those texts emerge our moment, standing before the ark of hope and unity and commitment to the Jewish people. I share this because these past 3 weeks, Israel has been under assault. Israel is at war with Hamas, not with the Palestinian people, but with the terrorist group Hamas. And 3 weeks ago, Hamas attacked Israel, killing more Jews in a single day since the Holocaust. I don't need to share the horrors of the violence. Over 200 hostages are still held by Hamas, Israelis and foreign nationals of all ages. Some of the imagery of Echa felt real. By Hamas's design, the destruction in Israel and Gaza has been heartbreaking. By design, what I mean is using Gazans as human shields. They build bunkers and tunnels under apartment buildings, launch rockets near hospitals and schools, hoard fuel, food, and medicines for their fighters rather than share it with the Gazan people who they are supposed to govern. It is also a calculated strategy to maintain maximum international pressure on Israel at the neglect of their own people. My heart breaks at so many deaths of Palestinians, and the war is only beginning. That does not lessen my ties or love of Israel. It simply makes me human. Like Proverbs 24 says, if your enemy falls, do not exult. If he trips, let your heart not rejoice. I am angry at Hamas for designing its inhumane strategy of using Palestinians as fodder in a war that they triggered. As I read news reports and see what is happening across college campuses, I am worried for our students and Jews of the progressive movement. I am seeing postings on social media that are using shocking slogans and making horrific accusations. There is a temporary alignment between the Jewish far left and those who want to dismantle the Jewish homeland. I want to address a few of these accusations in order to offer you tools and perspectives. Whether you are on campus or reading the op-ed pages or having conversations with friends or colleagues, this might be helpful. And it is also an invitation for us to talk more directly about this. I offer this with the humility that the prophet Micah's words remain aspirational and yet continue to be our goal, that one day we will beat our swords into plowshares and our spears into pruning hooks. So the first accusation that I want to address is that Israel is committing genocide. The reality is genocide is a term that was created by Raphael Lemkin in 1944 as a legal description of what the Nazis had done. He was a Polish Jewish lawyer. Genocidal actions are, quote, acts committed with the intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. While Israel is at war with Hamas, it is not acting against the Palestinian people, which span across Israel and Gaza and the West Bank, Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, and far beyond. This is not a war against the people, but against terrorists. Nazis systematically killed or attempted to kill every Jewish person that they could find, taking over other nations in order to expand their power and implement their goal of killing Jews. That was genocide. The Nazis fighting against the Allies, that was war. Israel is not committing genocide. And too many people are dying in this war. Both can be true statements. There are 2.2 million Gazans, with almost 50% being children. The population of Gaza has doubled in the past 20 years. I share that to challenge the idea that genocide is occurring. The explosion in population growth creates other problems, certainly, but slogans of genocide are designed to trigger emotions and focus anger and horror and tap into our deep commitment to never again. Hamas has put its population in the center of a war zone. And I believe Israel is doing everything it can to limit casualties while also effectively destroy the terrorist infrastructure. Genocide is a slogan. It is not a reality in Gaza. Second is ceasefire. We must have ceasefire immediately. With all of the destruction, stop fighting and deaths will stop, is the idea. But since 2006, when Hamas was elected to govern Gaza, Israel has tried to manage the fact that a terror group with the explicit stated goal of Israel's destruction and the murder of Jews was on its border. That is Hamas's stated goals. A ceasefire keeps Hamas in power. We should call on Egypt to open its borders with Gaza, allow Palestinians to flee, to open the Egyptian border to humanitarian goods and safe passage. We should call on the Arab countries to accept refugees and fund humanitarian efforts temporarily, but they have been silent on caring for their brethren. We should press Hamas to share its stores of fuel and food and medicine with its own people rather than hoarding it to continue the fight for months. News reports say that Hamas has stored around 500,000 gallons of fuel in tunnels that it is keeping in order to keep fighting Israel rather than fuel generators at hospitals. Hamas and Egypt and Israel are each making decisions, and none of them end up with the interests of the Palestinian people first and foremost. Hamas wants to destroy Israel, not lead its people. Egypt does not feel any real pressure to help the Palestinians. And Israel is literally fighting for its survival from the south and likely from the north as well. A ceasefire keeps Hamas in power, and Hamas is determined to continue to work towards Israel's destruction. When will we believe their own words and actions? The next is colonialism. Israel is doing and creating as a result of colonization. So let me spend a moment to explain what colonization is. Picture England or France or Portugal. There's a home base, and like spokes, they send out colonies and colonists to bring their culture, English culture, French culture. There's a reason that in Brazil they speak Portuguese, to bring linguistic culture and others, and often to exploit the resources in the periphery to bring back to the home place. What about Israel, though? The diversity of people, of Israelis, all different shapes and sizes and colors and languages. There is no equivalent to England or Portugal or of France. Israel is the only Jewish homeland, accepting Jews from around the world. So Israel is not colonizing. We can talk about problems with settlements in the West Bank, but Israel is not the result of colonization and its diversity of accepting Jews from all over. It is a slogan that doesn't fit the facts. Another slogan, river to the sea, Palestine will be free, as if that is a national liberation movement. What does river to the sea mean? From the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea is the vision of the slogan that Palestine, minus this country of Israel, will be there. It rhymes. It might even be a simple image, but it is calling for the destruction of Israel. So on college campuses or on news media, when you see that slogan being chanted, while you think it might be cute, it is horrible. It is calling for Israel's destruction. And that Hamas is acting as part of a liberation movement. In no way can I imagine that what Hamas, the terrorist group, is doing is trying to put forward a national aspirational movement that there should be a Palestinian people alongside the country of Israel. What they are doing is very clear, even if the world doesn't want to accept it. They are working day and night to destroy Israel, even at the expense of their own people. So Hamas does not speak for the Palestinian people. And I should say I make that statement inviting Palestinians themselves to make that distinction. But Hamas is not part of a liberation movement. Yossi Klein Halevi wrote in 2018, which isn't long ago, but really a different world, in his book, Letters to My Palestinian Neighbor. I long ago realized that the historic claims and religious longings that connect me to this land cannot justify my possessing all of it at another people's expense. But our experience of the widespread rejection of Israel's legitimacy in Palestinian society and in the Arab and Muslim worlds generally only hardens us, he writes. It maddens us. The key to ending the occupation is giving the Jews some hope that our withdrawal, our willingness to territorial contraction, will be reciprocated by a willingness on your side to accept the West Bank and Gaza as a Palestinian state without trying to undermine the state of Israel. We haven't seen that yet. We have seen the opposite. We have seen that the leaders of Gaza, Hamas, are continually working to destroy Israel. And Israel is an open-air prison. Gaza is an open-air prison, is another thing that I have heard. That's the accusation that Hamas's actions are justified because the conditions that they have lived under have pushed them to this. I'm amazed by this. It is a complete refusal to hold Hamas accountable for their own atrocities. The husband who beats his wife is held accountable, even if he had a horrible childhood. I would not want for a second to live in Gaza. The conditions are bad, and I do not understand why Egypt and the Arab countries have not leaned in to help them more. It is only Israel who provides electricity and water and other resources. Palestinians are stuck because Egypt keeps them in. They are stuck because the Arab countries don't give them visas to arrive. I've been appalled by those who justify and excuse Hamas's terrorist acts. And finally, as we were talking about all of this, I want to underscore the importance of taking care of ourselves as we are engaged in these conversations. Be aware of our own mental health needs. This can feel very isolating and even scary. Make sure to be engaged with community, to come to synagogue or other places where you can be with others who are struggling in the same ways. This is not a time to be alone. So don't engage in debate on social media. It's not the forum for it. Social media thrives on people being inflammatory rather than thoughtful. Limit our time on social media. Further, be aware of your physical safety if you choose to attend protests of any sort. There was just a case at Tulane where protesters or those rallying in favor of Israel were beaten up. So be aware of that. But I want to close as I began with Lamentations. It feels like the words from another part of Eicha are true in some part. In the second chapter, it feels as if the words of Lamentations are true. All your enemies jeer at you. They hiss and gnash their teeth and cry, "We've ruined her. Ah, this is the day we hoped for. We have lived to see it," the enemies of Israel say. They are wrong. They are wrong. That Israel is strong and it is determined as it is navigating this difficult war that was placed on them. The Jewish people are strong and we will survive this horrible time. I know this war will end, and despite far, far too many people dying, Am Yisrael Chai. I truly wish that we will soon have a Shabbat of Shalom for us here, for Israel, and Shalom for the Gazans as well. Shabbat Shalom.